Yo, what up YouTube? This your boy SP the GOAT, and I'm back at y'all again with another episode, and this one's way different. This is my first trailer breakdown for a new series in the Power Universe of any kind, or of any series, so I'm not quite sure what to do here, but watch the trailer and report back to you. But I know better than that because Power Universe and it stretches over 10 years and 4 spin-offs, this one being the 5th. So to set my own standard here, what I'm going to do in my new series videos is the character similarities for the series that are continuations, the ones that are spin-offs, and for brand new series, when we get to that, we'll talk about that. So I want to look at the acting and try to give us some kind of insight on where we are in the story timeline. But I'm also going to be listening to the new theme song for Power Origins and giving you a critique on that too. I'm sure as I do more of these, the format will grow and it will evolve, but you know how we do. Hit that like button, hit that hype button, and subscribe. I appreciate all the love and support and the feedback, and I love y'all back. So with that said, let's get into it. First things first, we hear Ghost and Tommy sitting in the car, and Ghost is giving a speech about touching the sky and proving it to themselves that they could do it on their own. And this lets us know off top, when Tommy and Ghost enter the picture, it's always going to be Tommy and Ghost, just like we saw in OG Power. Now hopefully we get the story of why it's like that, or how it got to be that way in Power Origins. Now with some of the imagery, we see the pair of shoes from the Raising Kanan logo that are tied into the whole lore of the show now being introduced in Power Origins. Now, why is this important? Well, for me, I just wanted to know what kind of shoes they were because up top, when you throw shoes on the power line, that usually meant somebody passed away right there. Somebody got bullied or treated right there. They threw their shoes up there to like get them back. You owe me money or something like that. You don't got my money, I'm gonna take your shoes, throw them up there. Or it was a place to mark your territory. You know what I'm saying? Like if a crew was operating in the area, they blocked it off with their shoes being on the power line. You tie your shoelaces, you throw them up there, mark your territory. And that was kind of cool seeing that in the logo for Raising Kanan. But now we at least know what kind of shoes these are. And they are Jordan 9s. And those were released in 1993, designed by Tinker Hatfield during Jordan's retirement. So you know how Power does its symbols in all the Easter eggs, and I'm wondering if in 1993, the same year that season 5 of Raising Kanan is running right now, is the year that somebody gets treated. And by that, I mean, is this the year that somebody goes to jail, somebody gets bullied up off the block, you know, loses some territory, loses a loved one, and we all know we lost Uncle Lou in the last season of Raising Kanan, but we don't know if these are his, because he was always wearing Timbs. But what do these pair of shoes give us? Right now, we know that Power Origins is at least in 1993 because those shoes couldn't come out in 1992. We know the starting year for Power Origins from this, that it's at least 1993 going forward, but we don't know what year that is. So, aside from asking whose shoes they are, and I'm sure they're not Scraps, and I'm sure they're not Taz's, we're going to be looking at some of the other elements to try to figure this out. So looking at these things, we see somebody pick up off the bed, and that logo on the handle makes it a Beretta. Now the front looks a little bit squared off, so it's not one of the early model Berettas, but it also looks like about as square as a Glock, and we know it's not a Glock. So the only 2 Berettas that look like this were the 92F that came out in 1985 and still runs to this day, and then we have the Beretta Vertex, which came out in 2001. Into production 2007. Now I hope it's the 92F and not the Vertex, because if it's the Vertex, then we got a time jump from 1993 to 2001, which would be a huge mix-up on the showrunner, because part of what we already know from being 1993 to the time Kanan died in OG Power was 17 years from where he is right now. So that would put us directly in 2010 if we were to believe everything we heard from Courtney Kemp in interviews. And if he has 17 years now and he passes away, then that means Kanan is about 19 now, because he's supposed to be 36 in the series when the cops come and take him out for Kid Rapid Tariq with the gun that Kid Ray and, you know, it was in the trunk of S500. So I don't think that's going to be the Beretta Vertec, and I'm hoping that it's the 92F. The next image we see is somebody putting on a Brooklyn Nets jersey, and this one is about to hurt my feelings because before they were the Brooklyn Nets, and they were in New Jersey from 1977 to 2012. So this jersey thing is giving me a little bit of heartburn and anxiety because with everything that Sasha Penn and Courtney Kemp and other show writers and runners have put out there is that the timeline took about 6 months. And this Brooklyn Nets jersey puts us at a 2012 timeline. And if Courtney Kemp is telling us that the original timeline was 2015, as it was developing right then and there at the time, then that means we would have skipped about 10 years in this timeline. And Kanan is going to go from the allegedly 19-year-old kid that he is right now at the end of season 5 to a 29-year-old kid, which wouldn't make sense because he's supposed to be in jail for 10 years before he gets out in the OG series. So if he got out in 2015 in the original series, but the Brooklyn Nets didn't move from New Jersey until 2012, then we got a sort of snafu in the intro graphics. Anyway, you also see the images that somebody's got a pager. Now, that is an 80s and 90s thing. And by the early 2000s, pagers were phased out for cell phones and Nextel chirps. But the Motorola StarTACs and the pagers went out and the Nokia 6300s came in. But that was about 2001, and this gives me some more heartburn because that means it would be a time skip of 8 years from 93 to 2001, which takes half the time of Kanan's remaining life in the OG series off. So there's a lot of history that was missed during that time if they do a time skip, and we don't get a lot of the stories about how Breeze, Kanan, and everybody else came up in the streets. We kind of get this condensed thing. So I'm hoping that these are all visuals and not things that they are going to stick to in the timeline as to where we're going to get to start or anything like that, other than to say that there are shoes to tell you we're going to hit some major points in this timeline. We're going to hit 1993, where we are now with Raising Kanan, and then we're going to jump to 2001 in the midpoint of the story, where we get things and some tension before they murk Breeze, and then in 2012, put Kanan in jail. And I'm hoping that's how they're trying to get the visuals here because it's really, really making me feel like they're not going to do a good job with the series, and I know I'm wrong. I'm just really, really hoping I'm wrong, even though I know I'm wrong. So the actors in this scene didn't give us a whole lot because they're sitting in the car, they're talking and all that jazz, but they're not going to give us too much. They wanted us to know something. Hey, these two look cool, they fit the description, and they sound cool. But mostly in this trailer, they seem like some goofy little kids that got into some street stuff. Then they immediately snatched that away from us when they showed them walking up to some people sitting at the table outdoors and cracking them upside the head with a baseball bat. So these aren't goofy little kids, and they're not innocent. They're already in the game. Now let's talk about the sound, because if y'all don't know, I got a pretty dope music background, but we'll talk about that later. But this sound is not a 1993 sound, especially for New York hip hop. It sounds more like mid to late 90s where it was more transitional. Maybe 1997, 1998 New York rap, meaning that there might be a time jump again from season 5, Raising Kanan, to season 1, Power Origins. Overall, the music sounds ambitious. The artist put in a lot of energy, and as opposed to Raising Kanan's nostalgic look at Kanan's life in the time period, the instruments used, even the imagery, it had a boombox. And for those that don't know what a boombox is, those people that didn't grow up in the 80s and 90s, it's those things that used to take size D batteries, like 8 of them, and depending on which one you had, it would take more. But that was our version of the iPod or a cell phone, streaming, whatever, but everybody had to hear it as you walked around just like that. The visuals here show us something different, in the song feeling something a little bit different than nostalgia, like the Raising Kanan intro. You got something with a bass line and a drum pattern, both of which classic for that time. But this intro, more aggressive, more in line with where hip hop was, way past the golden era of hip hop, where you had the golden era like Wu-Tang, Brand Nubian, Nas, Onyx, Lost Boys, Smith & Wesson, Black Moon, Black Sheep, Das EFX, Arrested Development, Dilated Peoples. We could go on and on about that. But none of those golden era acts have a sound like how this song sounds. So from the song, we really can't get an idea of what time period it is, still about 97, 98, but we can tell that it's not going on during the golden era of hip hop. That was heavy with samples and all that good stuff. This is probably 97 and beyond where they get started getting away from the heavy sampling and all the jazz musically. But all in all, the time jump be damned, I'm ready to see this series and how it pans out. We got so many storylines we could still be going down, and I just want to see if everything that this series has promised us in these last 17 years that Kanan has on his earth is going to be what we all thought it was going to be. And while we might have Kanan in the ground, we might have Ghost in the ground, we still got Tommy running around unscathed. So yeah, I need answers. But all right, that's it, y'all. That's the episode. Please like, comment, subscribe. Leave your comments, concerns, complaints, moans, groans, and frustrations all in the comments below, and I will read them one by one. Thank you. I appreciate y'all for supporting, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Gone.
Too easy.